So I'd like to introduce the Montclair Ambulance Unit. They're going to do this program. It's going to be a lot of great information, things that you can use and take with you. This program will also be taped on TV 34, so you will be able to watch it after this viewing. So I'll let you guys take it away.
Good morning, everybody. How you guys doing this morning? Good. Anybody need more coffee? It's in the back. Just try not to snore too loudly. I'll do my best to keep you guys interacted. My name is Michael Craig. I'm a part of the Montclair Ambulance Unit. Ever since Hurricane Sandy, we've basically encompassed, along with the Montclair Office of Emergency Management, to do the Be Ready program, which is a program started by FEMA to help citizens be better prepared for any type of disaster. FEMA goes along the all-hazard approach, so we try to, as best as possible, prepare you for any type of disaster that could be out there. The ladies who are going to be joining me today is Lieutenant Ashley Vigilante and Mary Berghofer, who are probably just going to help me miss the things I forget during the presentation. But we also have some cool and interesting stories to tell you about both of them as we continue the presentation. At any point, you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, deliberations, whatever, just raise your hand, let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them. The way we're going to start off is we're going to start it off with on the FEMA Be Ready website is a large amount of resources that you can get. All the material that we have out here for you guys to take home is also on the website that you can download and print at home. But there's also a video. This one's geared more towards seniors because they're what we consider a very vulnerable population. As I'm sure you've seen on the news with Hurricane Harvey, the scope and magnitude still hasn't been realized. And if you watch, a lot of the vulnerable population is either the elderly or disabled. Any questions so far? Just keeping you guys awake a little bit? Okay. The website address is going to be beready.gov. beready.gov. Yes. All the literature and materials that we have over here will have that website on it as well. Ready.gov. Sorry, they changed it.
It's also going to be on the bottom of all the pamphlets. So as you
Yes.
get the pamphlet, that website is right there. So we can take pamphlets out.
Oh, absolutely. And if you don't have enough of, if for whatever reason we don't have enough of pamphlets here, just ask us, we can get you more.
Being prepared for an emergency is important at every age. As an older American, you may need to think about taking some specific steps as you get yourself prepared in case of a disaster.
As people age, their needs change and their capabilities change. So in preparing for a disaster, it's important to think differently than you might have at earlier ages. Preparing for an emergency is very empowering for older adults because it gives them the opportunity to identify what they need and ensure that they'll have those needs met when a disaster strikes.
Take a few minutes to check out the Ready.gov website, which features specific tips and tools for older Americans. There are a few basics. First, learn about the types of risks that could affect your area. Then, make a plan. You can use the Family Emergency Plan available on Ready.gov to organize and help you develop a plan that works for you. Create a personal support network if you need special assistance during an emergency.
A personal support network is very important for all Americans, but especially for older Americans. It can include your family, friends, neighbors, doctors, organizations, places where you worship, places where you do activities, and just making sure that those people know what your needs are in case of a disaster.
Let the people in your personal support network know what medicines you rely on, and if you have any physical limitations.
For older Americans who receive services such as home health care or receive regular medical treatments, it's important to reach out to those service providers ahead of time and communicate to them what your needs are, and also to understand what their emergency plans are in case of a disaster.
Identify someone locally and someone out of state who will be your contact person in case of an emergency. and learn how to send updates via text messaging to your friends and family.
One of the things that we've noticed in the past during major emergencies, both the regular phone lines as well as the cell phone lines were overwhelmed. But people were still able to text message vital pieces of information in terms of location, nature of problem, or just to text to say all is well.
Once you have a plan, prepare an emergency kit. A standard emergency kit includes food, water, and medicine to sustain all members of your household for at least 3 days. Visit ready.gov for a complete list of suggested items, along with recommendations for how to prepare a family emergency plan. Pay particular attention to certain things, like making sure you have enough of any medications you take, an extra pair of glasses in case one breaks, or extra batteries for hearing aids.
It's important to remember that certain things, such as medicines, can go bad and spoil. So just make sure that what you're putting into your kit is not expired, and check it on a regular basis.
If you are unable to obtain an emergency supply, be sure to always fill your prescriptions on the first day you become eligible for a refill, rather than waiting until the day you run out. Keep copies of important documents like birth certificates, insurance policies, Medicare cards, and financial forms in your emergency supply kit. Also consider placing electronic copies of this information on a portable flash drive. This could be useful for others even if you don't personally use a computer. For those who depend on the mail for their Social Security benefits, switching to electronic payments is one simple, significant way people can protect themselves financially before disaster strikes. Federal benefit recipients can sign up by calling 800-333-1795 or at www.godirect.org. A disaster can occur at any moment. By making the commitment to prepare yourself ahead of time, you'll have the peace of mind and confidence needed to get through any emergency situation. Check out the information for older Americans on ready.gov and get started preparing today.
Again, the unique thing about today is not only we're dealing with Hurricane Harvey down in Texas, but we're also dealing in 2 days is going to be the start of National Preparedness Month. Everybody's heard of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and other types of awareness months. Next month is National Preparedness Month, and with New Jersey having been hit with Hurricane Sandy, we have become literally a lead state to show people on how to better be prepared. Our state got very high marks on how well our state was prepared. Even though it may not seem it, we were actually well ahead of the game. Unlike Hurricane Harvey, where you see them evacuating hospitals in the midst of the storm, New Jersey took a very proactive step and did a lot of preparedness beforehand. Sorry, it's just, okay. Our role, be a hero. The more you guys are prepared, the better the first responders are for when they can actually respond to a disaster. Give you an example is during Hurricane Sandy, I was basically located in the Emergency Operations Center for the town. I was the ambulance unit liaison. And during that time, we received over 37 phone calls for assistance, everywhere from my power's out to, hi, my mother lives in Montclair. I haven't heard from her in 24 hours. I'm in Louisiana. Can somebody check up on her? Within 12 hours, we had 37 of those types of calls just in Montclair. And one of the things that the ambulance unit was able to do was we were able to send out teams to go and check to see, hey, Mrs. Smith, how are you doing? Oh, we're fine. My cell phone battery went dead. Our We have a tree that's stuck in front of our driveway. We're not able to get out. Okay, because your daughter June is trying to reach you, so we were able to get them in contact with each other. Also during Hurricane Sandy, how many people here are on social media? Facebook, Twitter? Okay, that's great. During Hurricane Sandy, one of the things that actually ended up happening was people started notifying other people via social media because that was the only way it could get out. They weren't able to make cell phone calls. Texting sort of went downhill. But they were able to notify via Twitter or social media. National Preparedness Community, not only working with us during this program, the American Red Cross, any way you can help out is definitely being a hero. Basic preparedness steps. We talked about people in the video making a kit, getting a plan, being ready. Well, we saw some people who were very ready, who stocked up before the storm, and what I call the famous, let's get the bread and milk, because for whatever reason, the disaster food of choice is French toast. Because that's the only thing I can think of you can make with all of that. But you need other things other than bread and milk, because if you have milk, what's one of the first things you're most likely going to lose during a disaster? Okay, so how long is your milk going to be good for? It's short time. So you want to make sure you have your other important things. Make a plan. Make notifications. Hey, there's a hurricane happening. Listen, if you need to reach me, you can try. These are 3 people in the area. Or do what some family members did, and they ended up calling the non-emergency number to the Montclair police saying, hey, I'm trying to reach my grandmother. I haven't been able to hear from her in 3 or 4 days. Stay informed. You know that the news loves to report on storms because they just want the big story, and they'll be sitting there. It's raining. It's still raining. Breaking news. It's raining. But you really do want to pay attention to them. See if anything's changed. A lot of information will start coming out after the storm hits of, hey, this is a local warming shelter. This is a local cooling shelter. During Hurricane Sandy, if anybody remember what really complicated the situation about 4 days later after Sandy hit? We had about 4 inches of snow. Yes, it snowed directly right after Sandy, which then put even more tax on the fuel that wasn't able to get to the pumps because we needed fuel to make sure the roads were salted. So listening to the news, some of you or most of you should remember back in the gas shortage days when the license plates were odd and even. Well, this generation today got that first experience with Hurricane Sandy when Governor Christie said you can fuel up on days if your license plate starts with an even number or an odd number. That came back into effect. And that hadn't happened since, I think, the 70s, if I remember correctly. So that's being better prepared. I have pictures, which I was unable to get onto this presentation, of the gas lines forming by the gas stations on Bloomfield Avenue in Montclair. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of people are not used to that type of hardship. Get involved. If you live at the Montclair house or some other type of senior housing, if you guys have like floor leaders, it's not a bad idea for during a disaster them just to knock on the door to make sure everybody's okay. Hey, does everybody have fresh batteries in their flashlights? Little things like that. Next slide. You can skip this one. Skip this one. Community.fema.gov. There is an abundance of resources at that website, most of which we brought some here. Keep going. Go ahead. Question?
Yeah, I'm thinking the clothing, for example, well, they don't need it right now in Texas, they've got it. There are things that are going to happen down the pike of over a period of months. Would this be the organization's check on?
Yes. The FEMA.gov website or the Be Ready program will always have links to how to help out other local disasters. I am going to talk about how we can help people with Hurricane Harvey and what you can do to help them and what a lot of people do that end up hindering disasters. To give you a little bit of a background, Ashley's been in EMS for 10 years. Mary has an extensive background in emergency services. If you've heard of the New Jersey Urban Task Force 1 or the Urban Search and Rescue Team from New Jersey that got sent down, well, Mary is on standby to go down with the second wave if necessary. She's a part of that team. Myself, I was a part of a team called the National Disaster Medical Systems Team, or DMATS, that were deployed to disasters such as Hurricane Harvey to provide medical support. When we're done with this presentation, I'm going to go into better detail on how you can help out other disasters. Building a kit. Make a family emergency plan. We do have printout lists of a checkoff list of things you should have in your emergency kit. When we're done here, if you want to come up and look at my little emergency preparedness kit, this isn't my actual one, this is the one I use for demonstrations, so don't look at the expiration dates. But in here, we have a number of certain things. Some people have the pre-made meals. If you have a kit and you need to evacuate, it's extremely important that you have your own bag to go, because if not, what's going to happen, throw that on the, sorry. When you walk into a shelter, if you have to evacuate, what is right there, that cot, blanket, and that meal ready to eat, that's all you probably will be getting at first. You may be getting a little bag with a washcloth, piece of soap, and a toothbrush called the Comfort Kit. But that's about it. So if you ever have to evacuate, you want to make sure you have a bag or a suitcase ready with your bare minimum, a change of clothes, change of underwear. What I consider the most important disaster item in the world, toilet paper. It sounds silly, but this is the most versatile thing you can use. Everything from blowing your nose to, the essentials, so what it was made for. In my little disaster bag, I have toothpaste, bandages, like little Band-Aids, some washing cream, hairdress, Febreze. The first shelter I ever was a participant in had 300 senior citizens in a gymnasium. The first 3 days, the showers didn't work. Febreze was our friend. Febreze and deodorant. Lucky enough, we did start getting things like towelettes and baby wipes in to start cleaning people. But as you can imagine, when we first walked in, it was not the most freshest of scents. But everybody did very well. Make sure you have some type of canned food. If you have Diet Pacific, whether it's for religion or health reasons, make sure that you bring the food that you may need there. During the initial times of a disaster for a shelter, the food it may be very generic. You may have pizza and salad. And that's, honestly, if you're lucky. Most of the time, it's going to be meals ready to eat, which means they're going to be so-so okay. One thing that I was told is not all, I didn't forget, Mary. Most cans nowadays have these peel back things, but in case this breaks off, what might you want to have? Can opener. Okay. For the people that are here, you're going to have to teach the younger generation what that is and that it doesn't come with batteries. It sounds silly, but that's a big issue. Medications. Really, really important. If you can get, like the video says, a refill of your medications beforehand, or when it's readily available, that way you always have a few days supply. That's extremely important. Make sure you watch expiration dates. If you're a diabetic, make sure you have your glucose tablets. Inhalers, make sure that they don't expire. Similar to the Fire Prevention Month in October, like the fire department says, change your batteries. When you change your batteries, you should also go into your Be Prepared kit and look over the expiration dates. Make sense? A 99-cent poncho. These also extremely versatile. Not only does it keep the rain off you, but you can also use them to cover your bed or your cot at night to keep the dust and anything else that could possibly spill on it. They're extremely versatile. Dry goods works just as well if it's beef jerky or some type of trail mix. These hold up for a very long time as well. A notepad, just because when you go to a disaster or you're in the midst of a disaster, if you're in a shelter or you're going to town hall to get updated information, you need something to write it down. And what type of writing implement would be best for this? Who's it? A pencil. Why a pencil?
Because you don't have to worry about ink and all the.
It won't explode. It won't explode. It doesn't dry out. It doesn't freeze, and it can be used in space.
You also write on paper if it gets a little oily or a little grease from your fingers, the pencil won't work, and most pens will just go right over that. Still problems.
Ziploc bags are your best friends, just to keep all your stuff together, keep them separated and dry. Depending on the type of disaster, you can use those hand warmers that you see. These have like a shelf life of almost 5 years. And the one thing that is extremely valuable, and probably if you ever get sent to a shelter, will be extremely the most important thing there, is at least 1 to 2 deck of cards. Be sitting in a shelter, you're going to get bored very easily, and a deck of cards can cheer up a shelter very, very quickly. Everything from the children to the adults is a great thing. Next page. Sorry?
Money to bet.
Yeah, money to bet. The one thing that they mentioned in the video about your important documents, I strongly recommend that if you scan whatever, your health insurance card, your driver's license, your insurance if you own your own home, if on your insurance on your apartment, whatever important documents, scan them. If you're not sure how to scan them, I know if you usually go to your local library, they will help you with that. Or some local schools and colleges and universities usually have programs to help seniors, to help you bring them all the documents, scan them all in. If you decide to have it on a flash drive, that's fine. I would make more copies and put one with you and one with a person you can trust that's not in the area. If you decide to put them up in the cloud, that's completely up to you. Just make sure whatever service you're using is very secure. Sorry?
The center I go to may not be able to retrieve anything from the cloud, so it's better to scan and put it in the.
That works too, yeah. The big thing with the your important documents is they're not for during the disaster. Therefore, when you sit down to meet with the FEMA representatives, your insurance agent, it sounds really silly, but one of the things is you have to prove who you are. And they're like, well, I live right here. And they're like, there's nothing here to prove that you live here. And I know that seems really silly, but during a disaster, everybody's looking for the same information. But by you having a copy of your driver's license or your actual driver's license, your insurance, your utility bills, all of that helps dramatically in the process for recovery. What type of hazards are that can occur in Montclair? Sorry? Trees coming down. Sorry, next person? Snowstorm. We're very famous for those. Anything else? Loss of power. Traffic. I know that seems silly, but it seems like every road you turn down in Montclair right now, has major traffic jams, and you can imagine if there was a natural major disaster, what the roads could even be like after that. I know this seems silly, but does anybody remember that little bit of a shake that we got a number of years ago from Virginia?
Yes, I was sitting at my computer looking at my wall right in front of me, was doing this. And, I know sometimes in New Jersey, down South Jersey.
Every once in a while, I'll wake up to the news saying that there was a 2.1 earthquake in somewhere in Bergen County or Rockaway or whatever. I'm not saying that we're going to be hit with a big earthquake, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind. Terrorism, it's always a chance and possibility. We're less than, I think, 18 miles away from New York City. So anything that impacts New York City is going to have a major impact on Montclair itself, just because we are a big thoroughfare and we have a lot of people that commute. We talked about Sandy, power outages, flooding, prolonged recovery. With Hurricane Sandy, we were used to, we lose power, we get it back in a few hours. With Hurricane Sandy, there were people that were out for over 12 days. Lucky enough, there wasn't that many houses damaged to the point of inhabitable, but we did have 5 buildings in town that were considered uninhabitable by the buildings department. Flooding. Lucky enough, Montclair's mainly on a hill. We do not get that much flooding, but there is a flood zone that kind of cuts Montclair directly in half. It's also available on the FEMA website in case you're interested. So we're kind of lucky on that end. Winter storms, power outages, unable to travel. We recently experienced that during the last blizzard. Heating's a huge issue. How many people here own homes? Okay. Do you guys, right before the winter season, make sure that your furnace is checked and maintained? That's extremely important. Understanding how your heating system works. If you lose heat, you got to make sure that you have ways to compensate, whether it's blankets, electric heaters, making sure you use them safely, things of that nature. The other most important thing, right before we go back, the other big thing is that I should have put down that a lot of people are preparing for now, and the news loves to take pictures of, is how many people here have pets? Okay. You're evacuating. What are you going to take with you? Your pet, right? Because they're a part of the family. I have a small cat named Claire, who I know if I didn't bring my cat with us, my wife would kill me. So it's important if you decide to evacuate that you have cat food. You know those important documents? Did you remember the cat's paperwork? Is he licensed? Is he neutered? All of that. That goes along with those important documents. Because if you try to bring your cat into a shelter, he will not be able to stay with you next to the cot. But if they have a pet-friendly shelter, they'll probably have a shelter either in close proximity that you can go visit them, that who will be looked after. But one of the things they'll ask you for is, oh, it's very nice to meet you, Claire. Is he all up to the shots? Because they may not allow him in. Good. Your cat or dog containers. Make sure you have those with you to travel with the cat. Okay.
It's also good to make sure that your pet is used to going into those. And some people will have them, and the only time they use them is every once in 2, 3 that they take them to the veterinarian. But cat or dog is going to be spending, or bird is going to be spending a lot of time in this goat container. Get them used to it. Throw some toys in there, get them to play with it every once in a while, bring it out and put it in and say, hey, we're going for a ride.
Along with the important documents, one of the other bigger things that have recently come up is the photos. People are still going through photos they found from Hurricane Sandy down on the beach. They have no idea who they belong to. It's not a bad idea for you to scan whatever photos you have and put them either in the cloud, or on some other type of mobile device. That way, if your house or living quarters do get destroyed, you still have your photos. Heat waves. Again, make sure you have air conditioning. If you know a neighbor or family member that doesn't have air conditioning, ask them over. Share your air conditioning. Who remembers when there used to be brownouts during heat waves, when the power company says on Wednesday we have to shut off heat to this area? That's still a possibility today. Next slide. Floods we talked about. Evacuation routes. Do not rely on your cell phones for maps. A lot of people use their GPS on their phones nowadays. What's going to happen if you're in the middle of evacuating? Everybody's going to be using their phones for GPS. You may or may not get a good signal. Your GPS may not be able to update. We've seen it where the systems have crashed. I think, Mary, you went down to the Barrier Islands. They had no cell phone reception whatsoever because all the cell towers were gone. So they literally used the old Hagstrom paper maps, or walked into a gas station, asked the gas station attendant for maps, and the guy's like, well, look at your phone. And he's like, no, the paper things, because the gas station attendant didn't realize that they had maps. These are the things that happen, those old paper maps. Again, this is where the seniors, to me, come into extremely useful because they can teach the younger people how to read a map. Make a plan for your pets. Next slide. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I haven't seen this in a while, but it seemed to me that a couple of years back they were talking about Bloomfield Avenue going up to 46, and there were like some little signs that they were going to be putting up there, evacuation.
Yes, the Essex County did put up the evacuation signs, and I know a lot of people were questioning them because there were certain places the evacuation signs pointed towards each other. A lot of the evacuation signs they're meant for two reasons. One, to get you out of low-lying areas for flooding, and the second is to physically get you onto a major highway where the state police or whatever would direct traffic. Certain ones that may point opposite ways is so all the traffic would not head the same direction. The way they try to figure out evacuation routes is the most amount of people down one or two roads without overburdening another place. Because you may say, well, we're evacuating Montclair this way, but if you look in Fairfield, they're evacuating towards Montclair. Well, Fairfield's a flood-prone area where Montclair is not. If we're evacuating because of a forest fire or a snowstorm getting out of Montclair, we're going to be heading towards Fairfield. But if there's flooding, the flooding's going to be going away from it and kind of meet in the Caldwell 4680 interchange or head towards the West Orange 280 area. Does that answer your question?
What happened to it? Because the big announcements were coming out, and then it just went.
They put up all the signs, and I think what happened is they started changing the lights to be more energy efficient, and they just never put up the things. If you want, I can try to find that out for you. Pardon?
No, a large number of people have no awareness that anything like that was ever done.
It's one of the reasons why if Montclair, in the worst case scenario, had to ever evacuate, we would announce the evacuation routes and post signs wherever we could to help that evacuation route. But I don't honestly ever, hopefully, knock on wood, ever see Montclair ever evacuating. So, I see your face, you're like, no. Disasters can happen anywhere at any time. Be prepared with the emergency supply kit. Be prepared with your family. Before the disaster hits is not the time to go to the stores. During Hurricane Sandy, if anybody walked into a CVS or any of the stores in Montclair like 3 days later, what did you find? empty shelves. Why? Because the trucks couldn't get here with the supplies to restock the shelves. It's one of those things that you want to be prepared way before the disaster than it actually happens. Any questions I can answer for you guys? Questions, comments?
Nice little bag there.
Yes, it's my general.
How much does it weigh?
Way.
We're talking
Weigh?
weigh. I'm talking about senior citizens.
Seniors. Well, what you can also do is make a smaller version, like a backpack that you can sling over your shoulder. We always strongly suggest a gallon of water per person for at least 1 gallon per day. But what I would suggest for the seniors is putting smaller water bottles in here. And then if you're maybe buying a gallon of water, putting it in the back. But if you had to evacuate, having 2 or 3 bottles of water and trying to test the weight yourself. Because everybody can carry different weight. If you need to, and I've seen this done, if you have the little rolly thingies, whether it's the laundry cart or the radio flyer wagon, that's the word I'm looking for. The radio flyer wagons, you can put the stuff in there. It's perfectly acceptable.
The thing the kids do is to bring their books to school. They have their backpack and one of those books.
Yeah, that works just as well. Just keep in the back of your mind that nothing should be bigger than like what I would consider a knapsack, because when you go into the shelter, the space that you see there and underneath it and 2 feet on either side is your space. If you decide to bring in your 7-piece luggage set, they're going to be like, that's nice, we can keep that over there. You can bring 1 bag to your cot. They do have I know everyone's looking at that cot, like if I sleep on that, I'm never getting up in the morning, my back's going to be killing me. Depending on the shelter that you go to, they do have some cots that are made for seniors. But generally, you're going to get that type of cot with a comfort kit and a blanket. And that cot should be able to provide you food over the next however long it takes. But one of the things that a shelter manager is doing once he opens the shelter, the first thing he's thinking is how quickly can I close the shelter. The Red Cross, during a disaster, if they open up a shelter and decide, okay, well, you don't have a place to live yet, we're going to give you a hotel room for 3 nights. And that's usually about as far as they will go. After that 3 nights, they're in the hopes that you've contacted your insurance company to set up further lodging. But even if your apartment had a fire and you grabbed your bag and you ran out, the Red Cross will put you up for 2 to 3 nights in a hotel. And then after that, they will give you referrals to different insurance companies, but they're kind of hoping that you'll be able to find your own place to live after that. Any other questions?
Basically, a little bit of a comment. We did live through a fire, and one of the things we found out was having something like near your door, at least a jacket or coat, or something in your pocket that you might keep all the time there. Even like your glasses, an extra set in your glasses. I couldn't see where I was going because I had no glasses as we ran out of the house. And things, just little things you never think about. And the other thing is those rolling, they have rolling backpacks for kids, and that's good. But now I've even seen they have the rolling valise. You know, it's like a giant pocketbook, but it has wheels.
The biggest thing that I that I have to express to you is having the bag is great, but making sure you have the plan is more important. Making sure you have other people in the community that you can talk to. If you have a lot of friends in the area, that's great. Make sure, hey, listen, I'm okay. If we get power, I'll try to check in with you on Tuesday by noon. If you have family out of state or that's at least out of the area, that's even better sometimes. Or, hey, I know I always lose power in this area. Is there any chance for the storm I can stay with you because I know you have a backup generator? Make sense?
How about just the individual house?
Yes.
Fire. There should be a kit, really a kit that takes, maybe not all of that stuff, because maybe they can move it as relatives. Like we had the apartment house. What was that, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yes.
Claremont. Did everybody in that apartment house have something that brought their identifications, their pictures?
I'm sure not. I'm sure they didn't.
If I remember correctly, because I helped process some of those people, one lady was able to grab her purse while evacuating.
So she had maybe a social security card or.
Yeah. Yeah, the ideal goal would be for every home to have something, to have a kit, to have something, and to not only just have the kit, but constantly check up on the kit. I lost my glasses 1 year. My wife's like, we'll just take the emergency pair out of our little go kit. 2 days later, I couldn't understand why I had a migraine because I kept on getting my glasses updated but never replacing them in the kit. That was definitely a lesson learned. And waiting another week for another pair of glasses was just not fun because I can't see without my glasses. If I ran out of my house for a house fire without my glasses, I'm as good as blind. Over here, before I forget, we have all the literature. We have seniors, people with special needs. If you know anybody who is blind, we have information that's Braille. One of the other things, Mary, hand me the vial for life that we've created is something called a vial for life. So hopefully you've never had us come to your homes, but if we ever have, sometimes we're able to look your information up on our computer if we've ever transported you. If for whatever reason we haven't, we have to enter all that information in. We have this sheet of paper which basically is mainly towards the ambulance unit, but it's got your name, your generic information, your medical history, your medications, allergies, emergency contact, and phone number information. If you took this, fold it up, and put it on your refrigerator door, if we ever entered your house and you're unconscious, we're going to look around for medications. One of the things we'll always look for is these vial for life information things.
These are great for not even disasters. Like Michael said, just put them on your refrigerator, on top of your medicine cabinet. Just put it in a Ziploc bag, put it with a magnet on your fridge. And that's perfect. If we have to come into your home for anything, everything is right there. So you don't even have to tell us what's going on. That's it. It's right, all written down already.
The one thing I will say is just put a date on it because I know medications change quite a bit.
As soon as you walk in, you've opened the door, it's right there on that table.
Perfect.
It's been sitting there for,
Yeah.
It's a variation of community health information networks, you know, CHIN. Could I put that to you online? So if you're walking into my house, you would have information on this person lives in this apartment. Is that available online?
We can make it available. We can make it available online. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That shouldn't be a problem.
Updated online.
You know, it's there. Maybe instead of you reaching around my house trying to find information on it, you've got it.
One of the questions that was being brought up as we were preparing for this lecture was how to help out other people in disasters such as Hurricane Harvey. Myself, having worked for many different disaster agencies, everything from the American Red Cross to a federal disaster team, the biggest thing you can always do is the money. If you donate to, let's say, the Red Cross, make sure that your check, when you write down whatever the donation is, you put in the memo for Hurricane Harvey. That way that money specifically goes towards the disaster that you need it to. Money is probably the biggest thing. I know people are like, oh, they need diapers, they need shoes, they need this. One of the things that ends up hindering a lot of disasters is what we call donated goods. We greatly appreciate it. It's very nice, but the problem is people end up donating, oh, here's a bunch of old T-shirts. They may need those down at that disaster site. Those work very good locally for a local disaster, but let's say, Montclair gets together, puts all the donations in a truck and sends it down to Texas, it's probably going to sit in that truck because there's so many donations going there all at once. And then the volunteers and the disaster agencies such as FEMA will now have to they have actually created positions to handle donated good items. Certain items they always can use, such as like the food, but even then sometimes that wears down. The money is probably the most crucial thing. To give you an example, I've seen places that still have items donated from 9/11. To this day, sitting in a hangar or a garage that never made it down to ground zero because they were overburdened with supplies. So donating either financially is probably the best bet. If you want to go to your local Red Cross, help out with them, because I know they do a lot of what they call safe contacts. Hey, I would like to find out if this person's safe. Volunteering for them also helps out a great deal. Not sure if the health department takes volunteers for certain events, but that's always helpful.
I think, and you can tell I came in with a lot of interest in doing something like that. Maybe I could help you prepare a document, some kind of document that can be emailed out. I have, all my neighbors and everybody I know in Montclair, we could have it sent to people, because I'm sure there are people like me who are concerned about what's going on down there. How can I help? How can I help? And if you can't use my 3 T-shirts, oh my God.
Yeah, the best thing is to go to like the American Red Cross website, go to the FEMA's website, and coordinate through them. They're the ones that have people on the ground that knows what they need and how to organize it. If they say you want to help out in your local community for Hurricane Harvey, you can do X, Y, and Z. Fundraisers usually work really well, things of that nature.
I'll give you a left-handed example, because I'm left-handed. I used to write for the Morris County Daily Record, and I used to cover restaurants. And during I think it was Hurricane Sandy, they had a group of restaurants who had people come and dine a certain day, and restaurants donated X amount of dollars towards something. I'm going to call some of my previous restaurant clientele and help them to do that again if it's possible. That might be something we could try here in Montclair. There are a quorum of restaurants in the town of Montclair.
Yes.
And it would be very classy for the restaurant to have this in their equipment.
As of this morning, King's at least, and I suspect the other supermarkets are there.
Yes.
They will match whatever your contribution is.
Yeah.
Really?
So I got a receipt, I gave a certain amount of dollars, and that's the one that's wrong. That's the little one. But they're on, if it's one King, the other guys are all up on that one.
So what you're saying is that I can go into King's and if I buy X amount of
Actually,
X,
it's a Red Cross. It's going to the
it
Red
goes to the
Cross.
Red Cross. Okay, I'm just trying to get the cheap honcho or honchette.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to make sure whatever items, whatever you do to donate to help those people out, actually those people get that actual help. Yeah, and I don't want the rescue efforts to hinder any more than they already are with whether the spontaneous volunteers or the donated items that are happening down there. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, wait, there's 3 tractor trailers from New Jersey with all this goods that we don't know what to do with. And that's just more logistical stuff. Does anybody have any other questions I can answer you about Be Prepared for National Preparedness Month? At any point, you can also go to the Montclair Ambulance Unit website, which is mvau.org, where we have a Be Prepared section, which we updated depending on the local disasters. Like right now, it's hurricane season. When it gets towards winter, we'll talk about winter storm emergencies. It's also going to be on the backside of the Vial for Life. Thank you. Any questions on anything we've gone over? Also, just to give you a little bit of background about us, because if I didn't, my deputy chief would be mad at me. The Montclair Ambulance Unit is also a non-for-profit 501c3 organization. We work very closely with the township, everything from the Township Health Department to the Township Office of Emergency Management, to do these programs. Because especially during Hurricane Sandy, we don't want to see you guys. We want to be sitting there being ready to go to an emergency, but if we have to see you, we want to make sure you're as prepared as possible. Does anybody have any other questions or comments?
In a way that have to go to a hospital. I had a good friend a few years ago. Some ambulance arrived. We are 2 blocks in our apartment house from the hospital down here. She was taken right into Claremont, town after town. And it wasn't Montclair. How do they assign these ambulances?
What most likely was happening was that we were on emergencies at the time. If you don't get a Montclair ambulance unit, it's because we're on another emergency. We have 2 trucks during the week and 1 during the weekend and nights. And what happens is if for whatever reason we're on an emergency, another call comes in, we call in one of our mutual aid partners, whether it be Glen Ridge, Verona, Cedar Grove, sometimes Montclair State University, EMS. Say that one more time. Asbury Park.
From Asbury Park that she had to pay for.
Yeah,
All the way up.
her insurance.
All the way up.
Yeah.
How do you stop that?
Oh, that's dealt with your insurance. That's.
And that place was across the river in the next, was it Hudson County? Yeah. Over in Kearney. And it was an ambulance from Asbury Park that she had to pay for.
Yeah, that would be through her insurance.
Yeah.
How do you stop that?
Private transport.
Well, your appendix outside says Shrewsbury. I happen to be from Monmouth County, so.
Yeah. To be honest with you, if you're being sent to a rehab or what we call non-emergent transport that's being set up by your hospital or doctor, that they're the ones that set up all of that. The insurance sets up and everything else.
Private ambulances, private ambulance companies, and they could have any name, mom and pop ambulance company.
That's literally a name of a company too, mom and pop. We also do another presentation. It's a generic Montclair Ambulance Unit introduction to explain a little bit more about us, about the different programs from our special operations to the Be Prepared program, which you guys are participating with. If you would ever like us to go to your community event or whatever, we'd be happy to do that. We also offer CPR and first aid classes, babysitting classes. I know most of you probably don't need it in this room, but just in case. But if you have grandchildren or children that are at that age of babysitting, we always can offer that as well. They do come with a price because we have to cover the cost of the materials and the instructors. So I apologize for that. I would love to give them away for free, but we have to pay for the materials. Does anybody have any questions? Yes. Yes, we have CPR and first aid. No, the CPR and first aid classes do come with a charge, though. We have to pay for the materials and the instructor time to be able to come out and provide the classes. We charge as little as possible, and as far as we can tell, we are the cheapest in the county.
And those CPR classes include choking, Heimlich.
Yes, it includes the Heimlich maneuver. Yes. Yes. No. We've done CPR programs and Be Prepared programs all over the state. If somebody calls us, we will come. One of our chief's motto is, if the phone rings, you'll answer it and you'll go. That's kind of what we do. Any other questions? Anything? Again, our website is on the
On the back of the Vial for Life.
So from the website, you can get our information.
So on these, which are on the table, or got phone numbers for Montclair, for you to take one of those also.
And that's pretty much the end of the program. If you guys would like to come up to look at their bags, the stuff that we have here, please take as much literature as you would like. If you need more.
I have to be honest and say that the only reason I came was because I was here for another program yesterday. I happened to see that you were supposed to be here today. And that was the first thing I had ever seen about the program was that flyer that was on the table over there. So I know it's really coming up for September. And I think this is the kind of place that there's a lot of other seniors that I'm sure if somebody
Absolutely.
had this.
If you live,
And we have the shuttle that comes up here all the time, so that people who are not close by.
if you live in one of the either the senior housings or one of the apartment complexes, I know Montclair House. Try not to call it by the number because that's the way we know it by. But the one on Walnut Street has a community room. If you would like us to come there to do a presentation, we'd be more than happy to do that. If you're from 340 Orange Road, we'd be more than happy to do that as well. You can just contact Lieutenant Vigilante or Ashley. And she'd be more than happy to try to set something up for you. I mean, and we don't have to do this just in September. We can do this all year round. Because the more you're prepared, the less we have to do.
You have simpler and smaller variations on where you're going to put out all the bells and whistles that you could take, say, to Harvard and Charles, if I could get that to them.
Sorry, say that one more time?
If I could get something in my building where there's a forum of lots of people, I don't know that we have to bring all the bells and whistles. That's your prerogative.
Yeah, we just kind of like bringing all the bells and whistles because that way when you guys are done, you can look at the stuff. And people like hands-on stuff. So, but yeah, whatever you would like, I'm sure we can work something out. Same thing with the CPR classes and the first aid classes. I'm sure we can work something out as well. Any other questions, comments? Thank you guys very much. And please feel free to take some of the literature.